I think let's go about it the same way as we did with the 2016 one, where you obviously go through your answers to the multiple choice, and if we both agree with the solution and the answer, then we can obviously carry on. The one that you're struggling with, that you need more detail with in terms of the workings, we can obviously spend more time on. So I've put up the 2015 paper. This is obviously out of 70. This particular past paper also had only 20 marks, for multiple choice. So 50 marks for the long question. That's a lot. So again, just be careful with that. Multiple choice isn't going to pass you. You obviously need to be able to do the long questions. And the nice thing about this is they split it. They told you what they're actually testing. So obviously the capital budgeting. So just to give you some background information, capital budgeting is looking at decision making regarding projects. So accept or reject, that type of thing.
Yeah, cool.
Then
I was actually quite comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's
the cost of capital. I had the cost of capital. I had a couple of questions on, because they actually got a table in here.
Yeah.
But when I looked at, I did it the way that I thought it should be done, and then obviously I looked at your answers just to see where I was, to see if I was right with it. And there was, so that's definitely one of the questions. I didn't even know that there was a third question. I don't know if I printed that page.
Yeah, that's the lease versus purchase. That's also quite a important concept in terms of finance, but you'll see that there hasn't been that many questions on leases. More recently, they've actually looked at testing it. So I think in 2016 or 2017, one of the two, they had a lease question again. So it seems to be a bit more popular now.
I think we did have a couple of lease questions just in the multiple choice. I think there was
probably As I said, it's getting more popular.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go through it. So I didn't even look at question 3 because I didn't print that page. So I got to question 2, and I couldn't work out that initial bit on the table.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where. How is this?
All right. Well, let's go through these multiple choice questions. There's 20. Let's check how many of them you got right, and the ones that you didn't, we can discuss.
First one I got option 3. I mean option 3. Yeah, replacement is the.
It's actually expansion. Most common.
Most common is expansion. Most common.
Yes.
Okay. For adding.
Expansion is looking at adding capacity.
Yeah. Okay. For adding fixed. I didn't read. Yeah. I must just look at that. Okay. For adding the other one, because remember we had a question in the last paper that we did that was quite similar to this.
I think it was exactly the same actually. So the answer would still be expansion.
Because we had. Let me just check. I think it was the MayJune 2016 one. I just want to check it because I don't think it was. Because I just want to make sure, because then I need to just make sure I read my questions properly.
Yeah, well, when looking at fixed assets add to your capacity. So as a business, you'd be looking at growing your capacity by investing in fixed assets. So if I'm adding or buying more fixed assets, that should increase my capacity. And that's why businesses would look at the motive of expanding. Replacement just looks at making those assets new or upgrading them so that they carry on working, basically.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to find which one it was in.
I think it was 2017, actually. The one that we did, the first one we did.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find that. These exams. I'm going to put that 2017 one.
Okay, here's 2017. If I just quickly scan it, here's it.
I didn't have it printed, that's why I couldn't find it.
Yeah, here, MayJune 2017. Have a look.
Before.
This question here.
Yeah, there we go.
It's the same one.
Adding. Okay, so it's expansion.
Yes, expansion is the way that companies would look at the fixed assets by increasing the capacity. That would be their motive. That would be their reason.
Yeah, I just remember us talking about.
answer for 1 was expansion, then we recapped the 2017 paper.
Yeah.
Your answer for 2.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so the answer for 2, I got option 1.
Good. Why? What is incremental?
Well, incremental means that it's over time.
No, not quite. New minus old.
Okay.
Okay, so incremental is looking at the additional benefit or the additional savings in this case that you're getting from the new asset, basically.
Yeah.
So obviously the initial investment is going to take new minus old, and that's going to give us the actual capital expenditure.
Yeah.
Okay, 3.
Okay, 3. I didn't actually get 3 out. I wasn't quite sure about the profitability index.
Okay, what is the formula for PI?
I have no idea.
Okay, profitability.
There's actually quite a couple of stuff in the other one as well where it goes into profitability index.
Yeah, so with profitability
in 2014.
Index, the equation comes from the notes. Actually, you can just copy paste it. Let me go and open the slides and just copy it from there. This was the same set of notes that we did the NPV and the IRR and those type of workings.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I think it would be week 4 or week 3. I think week 4 would probably be it. Let's just check. As far as I know, I think profitability index is it's the INV minus the NPV divided by. Okay, so let's see. It's not this one. Week 2. Capital budgeting, yes, this is the one. Okay, it's in your week 2 slides, and this is the formula. NPV minus initial investment over initial investment. Okay. That's the equation. Okay, it's on this slide.
Investment over investment. Okay.
Yeah, so the profitability index is the net present value plus the original investment, or the INV, over the original investment, which is the INV. Okay, then it's maths, basically. Do you agree we're looking for what here? NPV, right?
Yeah.
So 2.2
okay, so now
equals NPV minus 480 over 480. Right, you take the 480 across. Minus 480, and then you just solve for NPV, and then you should get option 4.
Okay. Option 4 is 576. NPV minus 480.
Is that alright?
Okay, I just want to just check. So NPV would be, is it still minus the 480?
No, it'll be plus. So this, let me just grab the calculator and get an amount for this. 480 times 2.2 is 1056.
000.
Then you'd have to add 480 because the 480 goes across.
Yeah. Would you?
So that would be plus 480 gives you 2.2 times 480 gives you that plus 480. Okay, gives you that 536. Okay, so I think this was the question where UNISA makes mistakes with the formula, because the actual answer is 5,153,6,0,0,0,0.
Okay, so you still keep, okay, because so which would give you 1056 plus another 480, which gives you the 1536.
Yeah, the 1536000. But remember, UNISA is not going to use this. I remember there were errors with the workings for the previous exams. Let me just think now. What does UNISA do? I think they just subtract. They don't subtract from the INV. I think they use this one, where they just use. They don't use the NPV, which is incorrect. Let me show you what I mean.
Yeah.
This one here. Yeah. This one, just divided by initial investment. So what they do is it's not present value of the future cash flows. They just look at taking it divided by. So what they do is they do this. Profitability index equals NPV over initial investment. Okay, so then 2.2 is the NPV over the 480, something like that. So now,
which is the actual formula though?
The right formula is the one that we used. This one.
Okay.
That's the right.
So
formula.
In the exam, if they give you that and it's, are you supposed to know to work that out?
Yeah, let me just check here. 480. Yeah, because I remember with the older past papers, they don't use the right equation. So let me show you the right method again, just to remove all of this. Okay, so the equation for profitability index is as follows: PI equals NPV minus INV over INV. Okay, so 2.2 equals NPV over minus 480
divided by 480.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the correct formula, and then you obviously have to solve. So I'm going to take 2.2 times by 480, gives me the 1056000. Then you add 480, you take it across, and then you get this. You get, so net present value here should be the 153.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because if we have to work it backwards. So if we had the 1536 minus 480,
you get 2.2.
80 divided by 480 gives you 2.2.
Exactly,
how are you supposed to? How are you supposed to come to some sort of answer with this? Is it?
Yeah, I can't remember what was the error. I remember UNISA used a formula that wasn't right. Let me think now. What did they might have done? I think they used to do something like this. Profitability index was equal to. I tried the NPV over the initial investment. That didn't work.
No.
Let's see.
It's got to be 480 divided by something.
Yeah, times 2.2. Yeah, but this was a question where none of the answers here were correct. And then you had to use the wrong equation to get the right answer. Remember, with the newer exam papers, mistakes like this aren't going to happen. This was errata that we actually raised.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So, but do they go back and then give people marks? If somebody gets this question wrong and you fail the exam because of it. Because
I don't know. That's the big question, because the thing is, their memo is actually wrong. Because if you look at the profitability, you can even go to the textbook and you can actually look at the textbook answer or formula. Let's actually do that quickly. Let me just grab the textbook. You'll see profitability index is actually given in the equation.
Yeah, I do remember. I've actually got it just somewhere. I was just quite hectic. I actually left my textbook at home this morning when I did did the stuff on that. I did this stuff. I did some of the stuff this morning.
No problem.
Or, I mean, on the weekend, and I didn't actually have my textbook with me.
Yeah.
For some stupid reason.
Yeah, Profitability Index 397. So if I go to page 397, you'll actually see the formula there. And the formula is the formula that we're using. So there's nothing wrong with what we're using in terms of the equation.
Okay.
Yeah, they even give an example here in the textbook, PI. They use fancy statistical notation. They use the summation button.
Yeah.
So they basically take the present value of all the future cash flows, and then they divide it by CF0. CF0 is obviously the initial investments.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with the formula. We're using the right thing. In other modules as well, do the profitability index calculation, and they use the same equation. So I think with a question like this, don't worry about
success.
Because you're using the right equation. You need to just got the wrong answer. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's...
Yeah, I'm just worried about that. Like, you know, if you need one mark or something and then you end up failing because they've done something like this.
Yeah, which is a problem. I totally agree. Like, things like that shouldn't happen. I mean, the answer here is 1536000, but it's obviously none of them. But as I said, I can't remember what was the mistake, but they used to do something and they used to do it wrong, and then we raised it because this is obviously errata, and we told them to please look at the textbook and look at page, what is it, I forget now, I just read it, and then...
376 or something.
Yeah, and then from that point onwards, then they fixed it. I mean, this was 2005, so this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So mistakes like this shouldn't happen in the future, like as it is. I mean, when we did the 2017 paper, that paper was fine.
But I mean, how do you have lecturers that like setting this type of stuff that are there that are
shocking.
making this kind of mistake? I mean, geez, like, have they actually done the studies? Do they actually know what the stuff is that they're teaching?
Well,
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I hope to think so, but as I said, nowadays things are better than it was in the past. So we've raised things like this. Yeah, page 397 is the reference. So we actually used to send them questions and say, please look at page 397. Please fix the question and the answer and that type of thing. So we've done that in the past. So as I said, hopefully now things are better.
Okay, cool. So then, I mean, when we get to those other ones, I should be able to work it out because I just wasn't sure there.
Yes.
Okay, so on the next one, I got greater than the cost of capital.
Definitely.
Okay. So now, so if it has a positive net cash flow, if it had a zero cash flow, then it would be equal to the internal rate of return.
Correct. Yeah. NPV is the actual amount of value that you're getting from the project.
Yeah. But I mean, so from what I understand from the textbook, that because on the NPV, like the projects, if the project is equal to or greater than zero, you would technically accept the project because it means that it's getting the required rate of return. So if the required rate of return is 12% and you worked out the cash flows and it came to zero, it means that it's effectively exactly equal to 12%. So the project would be a go because that's what the required rate of return is.
Yeah, because internal rate of return is what the project's giving you, and cost of capital is raising the finance.
Yeah. So I mean, so I remember in the textbook with this, it said in the textbook that obviously, like if it was the cost of cap, because the net present value, so the required rate of return would effectively be what the cost of capital would be, or if it was, the required rate of return would be whatever. So if the shareholders wanted 12% as their required rate of return and your net present value came to zero, it would effectively mean that your required rate of return was you had hit 12%.
Well, the same as your IRR. Yeah, well, the IRR is just an estimate of what you're going to get.
Yeah. Okay, cool. 100%. Okay, the next option, I got option 3.
Okay, so here you're looking at decision making. Right. Project A has a 5,000 NPV at a zero discount rate.
Yeah, but they're mutually exclusive.
Yes, so mutually exclusive means?
Exclusive means that you don't have to pick one or the other.
you have to pick one or the other. Independent means you can pick more than one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, mutually exclusive means one or the other.
Okay, cool. I'll tell you what then. Then you would go for project B.
Would you go for B and not A?
No, you go for project A.
Why?
Because you got a higher rate of return.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. I just misread that. Independent.
Yeah, mutually exclusive means you can only choose one. If you choose the one, the other project is eliminated.
Yeah. Okay.
Independent means you can choose more than one. Then option 3 would be correct.
Okay, 100%. Okay, then the next one was WAC. So the next question was the WACC. This one was quite easy because there was because I think that already included, I think the tax was already included in the marginal cost of capital. Okay, no, then I definitely didn't get this right. So I got to 9.8, option 2.
Option 2 is correct, yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a typo again. See, 2005, stupid mistakes like that. It's not marginal, it should be weighted cost of capital.
Weighted average. Yeah. Okay, so then I did work it out properly at least.
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean it's basically 0.8 or 80% times 11% plus 20% plus 5 times 5%.
Correct.
And you add them up together and you get 9.8%.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Then, so option 2 was right there. Then the next one was also pretty, okay. The next one, I also got a weighted average cost of capital, but you had to first work out, I think you first had to work out the different, you had to work out, 60. Yeah, you had to work out, I think, because if you're adding new shares, no. Rated if the capital budget is expected to be 220. So what I did was I worked out what the new percentages of the capital structure would be if it increased to 220.
Good.
Okay, so I got to 73% for, sorry, I just needed to just check that. I got to 73%, I think it is for the retained earnings, and it was 27% was for debt.
Retained earnings. So, all right, remember, M expects to retain 160 of the earnings. Right, the budget is now 220, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the capital structure is 2080.
Okay,
so if it's 220, how much are you going to raise?
Well, okay, so they keep in 160, so you've got 30. So you would have to be raising 190.
190. Yes, well, where would the 190 come from?
Debt or new shares.
It would come from the retained earnings and the new shares, Yeah,
so, I mean, but would it be new shares, though?
Well, the new shares is 14%. So how much do we currently have?
Well, we've got 30,000 if you have to take the 160 out of it.
Well, 30,000 is what you still need.
No. So, 30,000 is what you still need.
Yeah.
Would you have to would you add new shares on? Because, I mean, it doesn't say anything about shares into the capital structure. It just says that, it doesn't say that shares play any part in it. So, I mean, in the first equation, you had absolutely nothing to do with new shares.
Okay,
so
but let's put a limitation here. So, retained earnings, how much do we have?
160,000.
Exactly.
So that's what I did. I took 160,000 divided by 220. Okay, gives us 73% of that. So that increases your debt to 27%. So your retained earnings is still staying at.
You can't increase the debt because remember the debt is separate. So what is the capital structure? It's 20% debt and 80% equity, right?
Okay.
So equity is 80% and debt is 20%. Okay, so it'll always be 20% of the debts. Do you agree? Because the debt is 20% of the company's capital.
Okay, I did actually put a question mark next to this one. So
Yeah.
okay. So would we add new shares? 20%.
So debt is 20%.
So would we add new shares? 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. 20%. So would you would add new shares though anyway?
Well, that's why I'm asking how much are you left with? Okay, so if you're raising 20% through debt, how much do you still need? Well, that's why we need to calculate that. So what is 220,000, sorry, times 20%? It's 4440.
Yeah. Okay.
44,000.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so 44,000 of the 220 is raised through debt. So how much is raised through equity?
The rest of it.
The difference, exactly. So 220 minus 440, well, 44
176
is 176, yes. Okay, and then 176 is going to be raised here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the 176 is being raised through retained earnings and new shares, okay, my question to you was, how much retained earnings do I have available?
160.
Yes, so how much are you going to get from the new shares?
So you'd have to have 14,000 from the new shares.
16,000.
No, 16,000, sorry.
Yes. So 16,000 is going to be raised through the new shares. And that's why you've got three components of equity. Well, finance. Okay, that was the retained earnings, 11%. And then you'll have 16,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, because you don't change the capital structure. It stays the same, but you can obviously raise capital through other means.
Yeah, okay. But
yeah, so if you do that working, you get 27,27. Not 27, sorry, 12,27.
12,27, okay.
Yeah, which is 12.3.
Okay, sorry, I just want to write this down just so that when I refer back to it, times by 5, so your debt structure stays the same.
Yeah, debt stays the same because it's 20-80, 80-20.
And then 16,000. Times by 14. Okay, cool. Okay, I've got that. I'll just read the questions a bit better, I think.
Well, that was a tricky one, so don't stress. It was a challenging question to get right.
I did actually put a question mark in that one because I wasn't 100% sure why the shares in that were there, but I mean, if I didn't read that they were gonna, I thought that's, I suppose, the retained earnings, you can't really just increase retained earnings if you don't have any.
Yeah, let me give you some background in terms of theory. So, do you agree? If you look at the type of finance here, the cheapest form of finance is debt, then retained earnings, then new shares. So if you're raising capital, would you raise capital using new shares? No. You'd probably use debt and retained earnings.
Yeah.
You
would
only want to issue new shares if you had to, and you were forced to raise more capital.
Yeah, you see, I didn't come... So I did the debt there, and it was basically... gave me... I suppose, equity. Okay, no, it makes sense now. It makes now, at least if I see that question again, I'll have an idea, because I've got to an answer of 9.38, which is clearly not right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the next one, which was 8, it was normal EPS. So you had to work out what the profit was.
Yes.
To calculate the earnings per share.
Correct.
And I got to option 1.182.
Good. Yeah, this was just normal accounting, basically.
Yeah.
It was drawing up a income statement, basically, to get the profits.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Then the next one was degree of operating leverage.
Yeah, DOL.
Yeah. And that one, so you didn't really have to work out anything. You just had to, with the total contributing margin, you just had to work, you had to just take the 3 million minus 2.5 and then take 3 million minus 2.5 minus 175 with your operating cost. And that basically gave you your total contributing margin divided by net profit margin, and it's 1.3.
1.3 is correct, yes. Okay, so you just had to use the equation. Yeah, substitute the values in and solve. That was it, yeah.
So what's the easiest way to know which DOL equation? Because, there's like 3 different ones that you can use for DOL.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you would have to read the question and highlight what's important. So, obviously, this is using fixed costs, it's using variable, and it's using total sales. So, I obviously want the equation that has those 3 components.
Okay, and that would be the net profit and all of that.
Yeah, just the normal equation, you can use that one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because what is the other one? The other DOL equation. Hold on a second.
Yeah, the one is the percentage change, and the one is the
the one is the percentage change in profit over the percent, or the percentage change in EBIT over the percentage change over percentage change in your profit. Over percentage change in sales.
Yeah, remember, if you're looking at percentage change, you need 1 year compared to another.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. I can't use percentage change here because I've only got information for 1 year.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Then leverage is concerned with the relationship between sales, revenue, and earnings per share. That would be financial.
No, EPS and sales. The change between the two?
Oh no, wait. I got option 1, financial. No, so it's...
No.
Is it operating? So it's operate.
It's not operating either. It's in the notes. Let me open up the leverage.
So it's total leverage, man.
There we go. Okay, why the total leverage? It's because of the formula. Alright, so let me show you the leverage.
I just looked at the EPS and because EPS is also in the financial leverage, but it's not over sales, but it's got nothing to do with sales revenue.
Yeah, EPS and sales, those two go with total leverage.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Next.
Yeah, the screen's freezing a little bit. I wasn't quite sure about the number 11. Okay, that's back. The most commonly held view of capital structure, according to the textbook, is that the weighted average cost of capital increase. I put option 2, but I put not sure. Increases proportionally with increases in leverage.
Okay, yeah, so if I'm looking at capital structure, that's looking at what? Your debt and equity, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the weighted average cost of capital, right, you'll see there's like a little fall and then an increase like that. Okay, so it first falls, then increases. If you check the textbook diagrams are actually very good. They're accurately drawn. Okay, because if you look at the cost of capital, the WACC, theory says that it'll start at a point, it'll get cheaper, and then it'll start getting more expensive. Okay, when raising capital.
So it first drops moderately and then increases. So it could be 1.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And the residual theory of dividend states that when the firm's equity exceeds the amount of retained earnings the firm would. I wasn't 100% sure on this, but I put number 3.
Okay, yeah, with this one, there was errata here because of both remained unchanged. So if you look at a firm increasing the debts, okay, in its capital structure, which one of the following statements is true?
Sorry, no. Sorry, I was reading the wrong question. I was on question 13 there for some reason. The firm increases debt in its capital structure. Which one of the following? So I had option 3 there. The business risk remains the same, but financial risk increases. Would both business and financial risk increase?
Well, yes, because unless you assume that if you're increasing the debt, it's not going to affect your operations. Okay, that's the assumption. So if you assume that, then you can go with 3.
Okay.
All right, but if you look at the textbook, there are assumptions made on page page 350 in the second edition, and they actually talk about the debates between the risk by introducing more capital in the form of debt or equity, and they talk about how both actually remain unchanged, because Miller and Modigliani spoke about like the firm value and how firms shouldn't be affected by their choice of financing. That value is value, and if you choose to raise more capital through debt, or if you choose to raise more capital through equity, it shouldn't affect or harm the firm value, because the financing decision is separate from the company's operations.
Okay.
So
then number 3. So number 3 would be the correct answer. Then business risk remains the same, but financial risk increases.
You could go with it, yes, but it's not entirely correct if you go through the textbook theory. Yeah.
Okay. So which one?
If you do go with 3, then you have to make an assumption. You have to make an assumption that the risk associated with debt does not affect your operations. Okay, but obviously if you're taking on more debt, there's more financial risk, and at the same time, business risk would be would be affected. It wouldn't just stay the same. So I would be looking at both remaining unchanged here. Okay, if you're increasing debt in terms of capital structure, you could say, well, both business and financial risk would remain the same. Okay, assuming what...
But it doesn't have that there, though.
Yeah, they don't have this here, but that's why I'm saying that if you look at the textbook theory speaks to something slightly different. You can choose 3. There's nothing wrong with 3, but then you have to make an assumption that the financial risk is for the debt, and then you'd have to assume that there's no effect on the business.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
in
fine.
a question like this, you would go with 3.
Yes,
because out of all of those, it is the most.
Choose 3, yes.
It's the most correct one out of all of them.
It's the one that makes the most sense, assuming that the operations aren't affected.
Okay, cool. Okay, then for 13, I got 3. Pay no cash dividend.
Yes, that's good. Okay, I think this was a repeat question, even residual theory. I think we saw this last night or the night before.
It's in quite a lot of them. Number 14. Okay, so number 14, I got option 2. So what I did was I took the 4.2 million divided by 60%, and that equals 2.2500, and then I minus that off. And then I minus that off the 4.2, which equals 480,000, which was option 2.
So you're on the right track. Basically, how much finance am I going to be needing? 4.2 million. How much of it comes from equity? 60%.
Yeah. So
okay,
I looked whatever
available. 3 million.
Well, we've got. Yeah. So I took the 3 million.
So the difference is what's paid out.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously this is what's required, and then less the 3 million. Okay, it gives you 480,000. 480 is what you're going to pay out.
Sorry. I minus the. I didn't write that down here. That's why it wasn't making sense. But I minus the 2.5. I minus that from the 3 million,
Correct,
which gives you the. Sorry, I just did, for some reason I didn't write down. I just did it quickly, but I got to option 2. I do quite understand how to do that.
Okay, good.
Okay, now question in 15 and 16, I didn't really have much idea about.
Okay, so what did they give you?
Okay, so you've got your earnings per share.
Yes, that's EPS. Okay, they've given it to you in terms of T0 and T1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could work out growth if you wanted to.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
What else are they asking you about? Well, they're wanting to know what the annual dividends are for 11 and 14. Okay, they say the dividend policy was based on a 0.5 payout per share, increasing by 5 cents per share. Do you agree?
Okay, yes.
Okay, whenever earnings exceed
R1.50.
1.50. Okay, so has earnings exceeded R1.50 there?
Yes, in 2012, 2013, and 2014. And yeah.
Yeah, but we're not looking at those 2 years, we're just looking at these two.
Well, 2011 and 2014. So not in 2011, but in 2014.
There's 2011, and then there's 2014. So, did the earnings exceed R1.50 in 2014? Yes. So how much are you going to pay?
Yes, it did.
You're going to pay a dividend of 50 plus 5 cents.
5 cents. Oh, okay. So option 4.
Option 4, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Geez, I thought that I couldn't figure this out. I was just like, I thought there was some mad equation that you had to use to calculate the dividends.
No, yeah, the dividend was 50 cents per share. And it only increased if you had exceeded R1.50 per share in terms of earnings.
Okay, 100%. Ratio of 50% for the whole year when earnings exceeded per share and 0 payout otherwise. Dividends respectively would be, 2010 and 2014. It would be number 1.
Option 1?
Because it would be, why not? Because it says it would only pay out 50% for the whole year.
When the earnings exceed R1.50. Okay, so in 2010, what were the earnings?
Then it was 2010, it was minus 100.
Minus 1.
Minus 1 rand.
Yeah, so are you going to pay out anything?
Okay, so there's going to be 0 there.
Yes.
Okay, and then double, but I don't see. So now, which one would be 50%, Jada?
Well, in 2014.
Yeah. Okay, so it would be 0 and 3. That would be option 3, 0 and 125.
Yes. Okay, because it's 50% of the earnings. So in 2014, you had R2.50 earnings. The earnings exceeded R1.50, so you'll pay out 50% of the earnings.
Okay, 100%. Okay, then 17. Yeah, 17 also, that I didn't really understand. What they're asking you, but this is also the whole stuff about the leasing and stuff like that.
Correct.
So I went with option 2. I wasn't sure what it was.
Okay, so if you read the question, they say a lease under which a lessee sells an asset for cash to a prospective lessor and then leases it back at the same asset. Okay, so what is that called?
Sale and leaseback arrangement.
Sale and leaseback, yes.
Yeah. I just didn't read the question.
Okay, it's basically a form of financing. So how a sale and leaseback works? It works like this. Imagine you've got a building. Okay.
Yeah.
And that building has office space, and you're obviously using that building to run a business. Right. If you're looking at raising finance, let's say you owned the business, the building. Okay, do you agree that building is worth maybe a few million, let's say 20 million?
Yeah.
All right, is it possible to access finance? Yes. What can we do? Well, we could sell this building to someone who wants to own it, and we could sell it for maybe 25 million and make a profit.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be 25 million cash that's going to be sitting in the bank, and then we could just lease it back.
Okay,
that's called 100%. A sale and leaseback. It's where you raise capital today, and then you finance the ongoing costs. Obviously, you've given up ownership, but I mean, you've got 25 mil sitting in the bank.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so I mean, you could finance the lease for a few years probably.
Okay.
Okay,
cool.
It's a way to raise capital using the assets that you've got.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so on that one, I put number 4. The possibility of 100% financing. Yeah.
Okay, so here they're looking at an advantage of leasing from the lessee.
Oh, sorry, man. No.
Who's the lessee?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. It's actually number 1. It's actually number 1. Capability effectively to depreciate the land.
No, but who's the lessee?
We the lessee.
The person leasing the asset, do you agree? The tenant.
Yeah.
The lessee is the tenant. The lessor is the owner of the building.
Yeah.
Okay, the landlord. Right, so what would an advantage be from a lessee's point of view?
The possibility... Well, maybe number 2.
Ability to avoid restrictive covenants that are normally part of a long-term loan. Would a lessee have a long-term loan? No.
No. Yeah, so that would be a benefit to a lessee.
No, but it's a benefit, advantage of the lessee's perspective following, except. So, does the lessee have a long-term loan? No, they don't. So that is an advantage. Because it avoids having the long-term loan. So that is an advantage.
So how do you depreciate something that you don't have?
How do you depreciate something that you don't have?
Because if you're leasing it, you don't own it.
Capability effectively to depreciate land. Advantages from a lessee's perspective. The capability effectively to depreciate land. How
do you depreciate something something you don't own? So I mean, okay, so advantages include all of the following except. So I mean, that's definitely not an advantage.
Capability
to the lessee, the benefit of the salvage at the end of the period of the lease reverts to the lessor.
Yeah, that was the one that I went with. That was the answer that I went with. Let me just check this quickly with the textbook.
Because I mean, even the possibility of 100% financing, because you're not financing anything.
Yeah, you're not financing anything, so
exactly. So I mean, that's also not a benefit.
So that's an advantage. That one's definitely an advantage.
Okay,
because remember, you don't have to finance the asset, you just need to pay the rent.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is definitely an advantage, 2 is definitely an advantage. I do want to check number 1, because I hear what you're saying in terms of, like...
How do you depreciate something that you don't own?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to, so I just want to double check and see, what does the textbook say about that? What is this? This is the leases, hey? So... Okay, 657. Okay, so this is looking at advantages. Okay, the textbook talks about the different types of leases, operating and financial. They talk about accounting practices, they talk about arrangements. Okay, lease versus purchase. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of leasing is on page 663, and they say refer to table 17.4. In table 17.4, you've got a complete list of advantages and disadvantages. Okay, the ones that are advantages. The first one, a lessee avoids many of the restrictive covenants. That's definitely an advantage. That's there. That's on page 664. Okay, so number 2 is definitely right, which we said so, which is fine. Okay, the second bullet says, in the case of a low-cost asset that is infrequently acquired, leasing, especially operating leases, may provide the firm with needed financing flexibility. They do not have to arrange other forms of financing. So that's possibility of 100% financing. That is an advantage. Okay, and it comes up at the end as well. The last bullet in the table says leasing provides 100% financing, so that's obviously an advantage.
Yeah. Tax burden reduced with correct structuring. Lease payment may be reflected as a simple business expense. But then you don't get, but your financing cost, your repayments on your loan. So, I don't see how that's an advantage, because the tax burden can't be reduced. Your tax burden is more reduced if you're paying off a loan, because your loan gets...
Remember, if you pay off a loan, so if you're paying off a bond, the payments that you make aren't tax deductible. But if you are renting an office, the rent payments are tax deductible.
Okay, no, cool, 100%.
Okay.
The first one's not on here.
Yeah, the first one's not on here, so let's check disadvantages. They talk about the terminal value. Yeah, so that one. See, the benefit that the salvage value at the end of the term of the lease reverts to the lessor.
Yeah, that's definite. I would have thought that would not be. But I don't see how. I don't see how you can capability effectively.
Even the language doesn't make sense. What is capability effectively?
There's no ways, because you can't depreciate something. You can't depreciate something you don't own.
Oh, okay. But also, here's another thing: you can't depreciate land anyway.
Yeah. So that's too. So now, which one? They both equally as incorrect. But I suppose it just says the one in the book, though.
Yeah, so I think that was the reason we came to in terms of discussing it. So the only reason why I chose 3 over 1 was because of page 664.
Yeah.
Yeah, because number 1 makes absolute no sense, Yeah,
100%. Okay, cool.
Right,
look, the
textbook supports the answer.
Yeah, okay. Except for the first one. But like you say, there could be errata. There could be errata in this, which we've picked up a couple already.
Yeah, well, 3 is definitely right because it's in the disadvantage table of the textbook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, cool. And then on the next one, I was also not 100% sure. The combination of a dressmaker, but we've done a bit of this. We've done a bit of this in other stuff before, and I'm not 100% sure if the finance works the same as that. But this would be a horizontal for me. This, in all the other management text that we do, this is basically a horizontal. It's a horizontal merger because it's horizontal integration because you're not moving up or forward. You're not moving forward or backward within the supply chain, or so you're not just moving forward into distribution or moving backwards into the supply chain, but you're moving into something completely separate to it. But I don't know if the financing looks at it the same way.
Financing does look at it the same way, but now a dress manufacturer and a credit bureau, how are they related? How is that supply chain?
Yeah, but horizontal, no, but that's what I'm saying, it's horizontal, it's not vertical.
Yeah, vertical,
I'm just not sure.
Okay, horizontal is when it's similar. So horizontal would be the dress manufacturer buying, so they're making dresses, maybe suits.
Okay, cool.
Okay, or something.
So then it could be congeneric, I would imagine.
No, okay. I actually want to read you the definitions from the textbook for these different mergers. It's on page 697. The type 700. Okay, so I'll give you examples for all of these. Okay, so the first one, congeneric. Alright, congeneric, the definition that comes out of the textbook. A merger in which one firm acquires another that is in the same general industry, but is neither in the same line of business nor a supplier or a customer.
So that would be similar to horizontal.
Well, similar, but not quite, because horizontal is in the same line of business.
Okay,
so horizontal is what I said here. A dress manufacturer buying a suit manufacturer. That's horizontal because it's the same line of business.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Congeneric is in the same general industry, but not exactly the same. So that's a bank buying an insurer.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's financial services, but banking is different from insurance.
Okay, cool.
That's congeneric.
Okay.
Right, vertical is when a supplier buys...
Yeah, I know. The vertical, I understand. Because vertical is forward, it's forward or backward integration within the supply chain.
Correct. Oh, that's vertical.
Yeah.
Okay, conglomerate is a merger of combining businesses that are totally unrelated.
Okay.
So
100%.
dressmaking and credit bureau is totally unrelated.
Okay, cool.
Conglomerate, best example I can give you, Bidvest.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got lots of businesses that are totally unrelated, but all part of the same business.
Cool, 100%.
Okay, so the answer is actually 2.
Cool. Okay, then the next one on 20, convertible bonds have a call option or call feature to permit the issuer to retire or encourage conversion.
Yes, that's correct. Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Then for question 1, explain the relevance of sunk costs in the context of grapple construction. So I wasn't 100% sure about this, but I mean, I know sunk costs basically refer to non-recoverable costs.
Good.
And I thought that possibly the market research would be the sunk cost.
100%.
If they don't go ahead with it, it's money that they put in. But it could also be an old asset that they've spent quite a lot of money on that possibly hasn't reached its full value, but there's new technology that's come out that's far superior. That would be a sunk cost as well.
Okay, no.
So I understand the principle around
the new technology that you spoke about, the second part, that wouldn't be a sunk cost because that'll be a relevant cost to the decision to replace. So your sunk costs are costs that you can never replace that are totally separate from the decision making now. Yeah, so your market research debate was correct. That's it. Don't go into the technology discussion.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And then 1.2 was also quite easy. So the tax must be deducted before the interest must be deducted before the tax is calculated.
Why?
Because it's a tax break basically. Yes. So the interest that you pay, you get that deducted directly off your earnings and you don't pay tax on it. So that's where the tax break comes in.
Yes, good. So your interest tax, not interest tax.
Yeah.
Interest expense is tax deductible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean that's what we do when we do the whole operating cash flows and all of that type of stuff.
That's right.
Okay. So I mean this one was quite easy, I think. I mean I basically got to your answers. I got to your answers on this once I'd done it myself.
Okay, good.
With all the deductions, so the depreciation, the interest. I noticed on here as well that they didn't put anything in there for the interest to be taken off after the. They didn't put anywhere for the interest. So in this table that they've given, there's no interest to be deducted off there.
Correct, and that's a problem. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Because
yes,
it says
is, because,
EBIT.
Yeah.
EBIT, and then they even talk about interest here being tax deductible, and they leave it off their table.
Yeah, and then So I mean, I don't know what you would do there with that kind of errata. Would you insert?
Yeah, you would. So what I would do is I would split this, and I would write down interest
and
here.
put a. Okay, cool. That's pretty much what I did. I mean, I did it the way we normally did it, but it was something I picked up on there that there was no. It's quite difficult when you do these older ones because you pick up stuff like this and then you're thinking like, what is wrong? I mean, because can they actually mark me wrong if I don't put the interest into there?
Well,
they haven't
they
put
should
it
have
into the
given you
table.
a better table. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
That UNISA should have fixed their exam.
Yeah. No,
I mean, they shouldn't have left out interest because that's such a bad mistake.
A mean, it's such a big thing that they go on about in just about all of the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when the question before it is like, how should the annual expenses on the bank loan be handled in the study? You know, so it's,
Yeah.
you know, that, so I mean, it's, you know, when you're doing this stuff and you look at that, you think like, what the hell
Yeah, well,
is going on? Yeah, you know, like, why are there no...
this was just bad errata, because 1.2
Yeah.
specifically spoke about interest, and then 1.3 didn't even talk about it, which is very, very strange.
Yeah. Okay, so Anthony, so I mean, I got pretty much to your answers, so I'm not going to go through every single one of them.
Okay.
I got to the answers. I mean, I'm quite comfortable. I'm generally quite comfortable around this sort of thing. And then obviously the MPV, I calculated the MPV and it came to, I think, 4,666.82.
NPV, what was it? Let's check. 4,666.
Yeah.
I got. Where's my NPV?
Because I mean, I took the
I got
the starting cash. 118.
Yeah. Okay, so let's check your table.
Yeah.
What were your OCFs?
I've got all of your same OCFs there. So 1607600. So I mean, I did the depreciation like that. The 40, 20, whatever, the 40. I did exactly like it was. I had exactly like it was broken down. Okay. So just hold on. Oh no, wait. I reworked this out. Sorry, I did. Okay, just a quick question.
Yes.
Why would you? No, I actually looked at yours here because this is where I went wrong. So I had 3.7. Okay, but now why did I have 3.7?
3.7 for what? The initial investment.
Okay, no. Okay, yeah. Okay, but now wouldn't the marketing? Okay, so if the marketing cost, if it's sunk cost, then you don't actually even worry about it. So because initially I actually put that in there, and I went and I checked yours. Okay, cool. So no, that was where I made my first mistake on this one. Then also changes in. Okay, yeah. So I mean, why would you have your 3.5 million? Why would it have the 95,000 there, and then you have the 95,000 brought back into the terminal cash flow?
Okay, because what did they say here at the bottom?
Okay, it will be recovered at the end of the project.
There we go.
Okay.
So you're going to incur it at the beginning, and you're going to recover it at the end.
Yeah, can we actually just go through this one, because this one was quite a bit different to the other ones.
Yes. Okay. How do you want me to go through it? Do you want me to read the whole thing again and just highlight things?
No. Look. Okay. So I'm quite happy with what I've worked out in 1.3. So if we can just go over how you've done the calculation for
1.4.
For 1.4.
All right. Perfect. No problem.
Yeah, because 1.3, I've got everything, like the whole table is 100%. I've got all of your same cash flows. I just want to see. So the cash flows that I'm having issues with is your installed cash flow and the terminal cash flow, and how you calculate those in there.
Yes. Okay. So when it comes to a question about
then also
you need to draw a timeline, and you need to put the values on here. That's the biggest tip I can give you.
Okay.
Okay, so how long is the project's life?
5 years?
5 years? No, 4 years.
4 years. 4 years. 4 years.
So if I look at your OCF, okay, do you agree the OCF is what? The cash flow where? Over the life of the project?
The project, yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm drawing up. All right, so based on your table, your year one cash flow was how much?
Year one cash flow was 1,607,600.
Good. Two?
Year two was 1,509,600. And then 1,411,600.
100%, yeah. So you're literally just taking those
cash flows. And then
1,313,600.
I mean, it was just, the reason that they do that is obviously just because of the depreciation as a factor, and then the impact of the tax on the different amounts of interest.
Yeah, well, that would be the 1.3 table that you drew up, which is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so now obviously, in order to do a cash NPV calculation in terms of cash flow, you need the INV and you need the TCF. Okay, TCF would actually occur here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so the initial investment, you would have to do a calculation for it. The calculation wasn't that difficult because all you had to do was just look at the 3.5 million.
Yeah.
And let me go back. This bit that I highlighted, what did they say here at the beginning?
That it would incur costs, so it's that you incur additional costs. So your working capital will it'll impact the initial costs negatively. So you'd have a negative.
Yeah, you'd have to add an extra 95,000 to the costs.
So effectively your first outlay cash flow would be negative 3,595.
Yes. Right. Okay. So that's the initial investment.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what do I need to do? I need to get the TCF, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now if I'm looking at TCF, TCF is the terminal cash flow. So the cash flow at the end of the life of the project. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much am I going to get at the end of the project?
Well, you're going to get your 95,000 back.
Am I only going to get 95?
No, I'm just trying to look. I know that there was something else.
It'll be the new asset that is sold. After tax.
Okay, yes. Where does it tell you that?
Okay, if you look at the question.
Yeah.
Let's see. We need to read it again. They did mention it somewhere. Where did they put it? Oh, scrap value. There's it.
Okay. Oh, yes, okay.
Okay, so scrap value is 100K. What's the tax? 28%.
Okay, yes. Okay, so scrap value plus tax.
So what am I going to do? Well,
you take that plus you take 28,000 rand off it essentially for your tax, and gives you 72,000, and you'd add the 72,000 to the 95,000, so you end up with 167.
Yes.
Okay. So now, Anthony. So I worked that up, but I don't get to the 116.
Okay, so let's put the 167 here. Okay, so that means this cash flow and this cash flow needs to be added together. 160.
Why do they need to be added together?
On your calculator for your
that's where
cash flow, you're going to type that in.
No, I did that.
Try again.
I added.
That's the calculator cash flow that you're going to plug in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I've done that. So what I did was, I just added those two together. So if you add the 131,600 plus 167, it gives you 148,600.
Okay, and did you put all the other cash flows in correctly?
Yeah.
And did you put in 10% as your rate?
I did, yeah.
And does that give you an NPV?
So what I did was I get 3595, okay, 000, negative, and that is my cash flow 0, okay. Then I've got 1607, 600, and that gives me my first cash flow. Then I've got 1509, 600, that gives me my second cash flow. Then I've got 1411, 600, gives me my third cash flow. Then the cash flow for the year. So even if I go 131, 3600 plus 167. equals, and then cash flow. So that gives me 1,480,600. Okay, which is what I've got there.
10%
as the fourth
interest?
cash flow, 10% interest, and then my second net present value. Oh no, I don't know what I did.
Did something
And
go
now
wrong?
all of a sudden I get into that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I did with the. I don't know what I did with the thing. Now all of a sudden it gives me 1,185.
There you go.
And I did it about 4 times. I have absolutely no idea what. Okay. No, cool. Yeah, no, I understand that now. I think that was more what the question was. I think what I might have done is I might have put 10 in and then got net present value.
Yeah, well,
let me just try that quickly.
Yeah, the biggest tip I can give you with a question like this is draw a timeline
and
get the values.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then the next one, the cost of debt.
Okay, so question 1 you're happy with?
Yeah, question 1 I'm happy with.
Okay, good.
Okay, so question 2.1, the cost of debt. So you got your present value, which is 980 minus 30, because you're taking 980 because there's a 20 Rand discount, and then there's also a 3% flotation cost. So
yes,
it gives you your present value of 950. Yeah, present value of 950. Your N is 20-year bond. Your payment is 90 Rand because it's 9% of the 1,000. Your future value is 1,000. I rounded up to, it was 8.92 rounded up.
Your interest?
Yeah.
No, I got an interest rate after tax of 9.57.
9.57?
Yeah, if you solve for I.
Yeah.
Future value is 1,000, N is 20.
Yeah,
Payment
1,000.
is 90, PV was 950.
Yeah, 950 minus is that. Your payment is 90. Okay, the 20 was in, and you calculate for R. Yeah, 9.5. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, 9.57 is correct. That's what you should be getting, yes.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell.
Did you make a mistake with the working?
No, I don't know. I mean, I've got the 950. I've got 950 as your present value. I've got 20 as the N. And I do it exactly like you taught us in the first one, where you put the PV and you write all the stuff down. So I've got the PV, I've got the N, I've got the payments, I've got the future value. Yeah. I mean, I've got all of it. It's just putting it in the calculator, and I don't know why.
Well, be careful. Yeah, be careful with the putting in the numbers in the calculator. Remember, the one that needs to be negative is this one, the PV.
Okay, that's probably why, because I think I might have done the other one as the negative.
Maybe.
Yeah, if I do it the other way around. Okay, so I must remember that the PV must be negative.
Yeah, because cash flow wise, you're basically raising capital and then you're receiving the payments and the future value.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, no, cool. Okay. Okay, then the cost of preference shares, it's basically R equals D over N. So you've got your 87 times by 10% divided by 87 minus 3, which is I think it's your cost. There's a 3 Rand cost per share.
Yes.
In the preference share, expected 3 Rand per share. So the issuing of selling is 3 Rand. So you get 8.7 divided by that 10.36, rounded up to 2 decimals.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Then the next one, cost of ordinary shares, I equals D1 over N plus G. So you got 4 over 50 minus 10 plus 5.05. So your 50 Rand there is what the share price is selling for, minus the flotation cost of 10 Rand. The 4 Rand is the dividend over there, and your growth, which you work out. So you have to work out the growth first. So you do a present value of the 2.97. You do a future value of 3.8. You do an N of 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, well, I get you 5.05, and it looked like it was the same.
Is correct for the growth, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, the 5 is N. Eh? That, I mean, if it's 20, because it's 2010 to 2011 would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So so T1 would be 2011, T2 would be 2012, T3 would be 2013, 2014 T4, and 2015 T5.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then, yeah, so I mean, I've got that. So then N, so I got that. Then it's 4 over 40. 4 divided by 40 plus 5.5 gives you 15.05 rounded up.
Yes, that's the cost of the ordinary shares. Good.
Yeah, okay. Then calculating the debt, the breakpoints. So the breakpoint is it's AF over W. So the firm could raise 400,000 divided by 40% because that's what your 40%, yeah, because that's what the thing of long-term debt is, your weighting of long-term debt. And then that gives you 1 million.
Good is the break point for debt, yes?
Yeah, that's a break point. So then the break point for thing is 300,000 for shares, divided by 50%, so it gives you 600,000.
Yes, for the retained earnings, that's correct. 50%,
yeah.
300,000 available. Break point is 600,000. That's right.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, cool. So now this was the next part that, I mean, I tried to do it, but okay. So where I'm getting confused when I looked at your answer, because obviously I looked at what I did, and it didn't compare to yours. So I mean, that's what I've been doing, is trying to do this, and where I've been getting stuck, I have been sort of looking a little bit to try and understand it, to try and understand what's going on. So with this, I mean, I saw that. So for me, the debt. So it says 0 to 600,000. The debt at 40. The weighting is. It says that up to the firm could raise by selling. By selling 1,000 shares. Any additional debt in excess of 400,000 would cost 14%. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure how you work this out.
Did you get stuck?
Yeah, I got very, very stuck with this.
Okay. All right, so the main thing is to go back and to check what we had in the question. Do you agree that the 600,000 was the break point for what?
600,000 was a break point for shares.
Yes. Okay. Then you had 1 million, which is the break point for debt.
Okay, so it's based on break points. Okay. But then, so then debt to calculate it was the tax taken off before? Has the tax already been adjusted for in the debt?
We need to go and check.
It's gotten off. Well, it says the excess. The excess would be the excess of 400,000 would have an after-tax cost of 14%.
Okay, so that tells you that that's after tax already.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the main thing is to check the question and to see what you've been given in terms of costs and weightings.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so how much bonds do you have?
So, yeah, I mean, if we can just go through this. Okay, so you've got 400,000 Rand in bonds.
Okay, that's in excess, so that's not what we've got.
Okay.
Well, you could raise. So now, obviously, we're looking at what?
Okay, we've got 1 million. Okay, so we've got 1 million Rand in bonds because that's our break even. That's our break point.
Break
we
point.
must have 600,000
don't worry about the
Rand.
break points. Just focus on the different forms of finance. Okay, so you've got long-term debt. Do you agree? That's the one form of finance.
Yeah.
Then you've got this additional debt. So you've got two forms of debt. You've got long-term and you've got the additional. So there's two forms of debt. There's 1 and there's 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got bonds and you've got other. Then you've got pref shares, which is 3. And then you've got ordinary shares, which is 4. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 different forms of finance.
Okay, but then, I mean, how are we supposed to fill it into this table, though, Anthony? I mean, because I saw in your thing, you've split the debt up. But, I mean, this table also, if you look at the way that they've done the table on there, I mean, they only give you one option for debt. So, I saw in your thing you had debt 1 and debt 2.
I had debt because the debt was split.
They give a table like this?
Yeah, the debt was split. That's why I split it.
Okay.
So if you're wanting to complete the table, maybe what you could do is you could just halve that line and then you could show both. You can group it as one if you wanted to, but I would show it as two because they're two separate forms of finance.
It's quite difficult to fit it in there. I mean, it's...
True, I know it's difficult to fit it in, but then, I mean, there's no other way of doing it because we need to answer the question in line with what they've given you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't argue with the question. The question has given you two different forms of debt. And we know that there are two different costs of debt. Because based on the working that we just did, long-term debt has this cost.
Okay.
Additional debt has that cost. Those are two different costs.
Yeah. Okay. So long-term debt had the cost of 9.57.
Yeah, but after tax, so you'd have to multiply that by 1 minus the 0.28.
Which the after-tax debt.
Yes, after-tax cost of debt.
Okay. So would you multiply? So you'd multiply this by times that by 1 minus 2.8. And that would give you your actual answer for the debt.
Yeah, so if I quickly do that working, you get that.
Okay. So 6.89 or 515. You see, if you make a mistake on one of these, it's going to stuff up everything else. Okay. Well, if we can just fill out, I just want to actually just write this table like you've got it, just how you would do it.
Yeah. So now what am I looking at? Well, I'm looking at the different levels of financing. So if I go back to the question, you'll see here at the bottom, they say, give the weighted costs, okay, looking at that source of capital. Right, so if I'm raising between 0 and 600,000, okay, how much debt am I going to be raising?
I'm just putting the columns in just so that I can fill this in and do the workings while we go. So 0 to 600K, okay. The source would be, so you have debt 1 and debt 2.
Yes, bonds and other.
Okay, 100%.
Okay, so
the weight.
The question was, how much debt do we raise?
Well, it would be 200,000.
40%.
Yeah.
How much pref shares do we raise?
Oh, so it's 40. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Okay, so the weight would be 40%. Okay, which was right on debt.
Well, 40% is how much?
Yeah.
How much is 40%?
But I'm putting the. Okay, so you wouldn't put a percentage in there. You put the actual amount.
You can if you want to, but then remember the debt has two different forms of debt.
Not sure. Yeah.
So it's 40% here, 10% there, and 50% here.
Yeah.
But this 40% is split into bonds and other.
Yeah.
Do you get it now?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Because
I know that, but I mean, so what goes under the weighting though? Yes.
Yeah. So you could put that under the weighting. That's fine. Okay. Or you can show it as a percentage of. So how much is 40%? Of 600,000.
Of 600,000. 76, 240.
Correct. Do you have sufficient bonds to cover the 240?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Why? You've got 400,000 available.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so am I going to need any of the other debt?
No.
No, I won't. I'm only going to use the bonds. That's why I've got this. Okay, so nothing there. Everything comes out of the bonds.
Okay. I can't really see the screen at the moment.
Is there a problem with the screen?
Yeah, it's coming right now. It's just there's a bit of latency on it.
Okay.
Okay, so under the weight, I put the actual amount. So why do you have a weight? I mean, why do you have an amount? Why do you have an amount under the weight for that, but you have a percentage for the preference shares and for the ordinary shares? That's what I'm not understanding.
Well, if you wanted to put a weight here, then you'd have to put an arrow here, or like a bubble here, and you would say bonds and other makes 40%.
Okay.
So you could say debt here is 40%.
But I mean, so in this table, you could just literally just put 40% there.
You could, but only for line 1, because the other forms of financing in terms of the other forms of debt doesn't apply here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's do the workouts. We'll do it your way.
Okay. So that's the only reason why I'm showing this. But if you wanted to just eliminate this, then just leave that out, and then you would have put 40% here, you would have put the cost there, and you would have put that there. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how I started doing it, and then when I went to look at your stuff, it was completely different. Okay, so then you put the 240 there.
Well, you can make this 0.4 if you want. That's fine.
Yeah, but the cost of 8.9 and 14. I'd rather do it if we're going to do that. If it's going to have an effect later on. And that's 0.1.
Well, remember, I'm just showing it as it's supposed to be shown because the question spoke about 2 forms of debt finance.
Yeah. Ordinary 4.5.
Okay, the question spoke about bonds at 400,000 available, and then they spoke about other, which was 14% after tax.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Okay, that's the only reason why I'm showing that form of finance split into 2. Okay, now we go on, and now we look at 1 million. Alright, so if I have 1 million, how am I going to split that? 40 debt?
Yeah.
10 pref?
Which gives you 400,000?
Yes. So do I have enough?
Yeah.
Yes, so can I use all the long-term bonds?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to use the full 400. Right, so am I going to need to access this? No.
No.
So are the costs going to be the same?
Yes, they will be.
Yes, they will be, exactly. Okay, so if I show you my table, my answer, copy-paste. It's exactly the same as the first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, 100%.
Okay, just to add more to this answer, I'll add 40% here. I would add 50% and 10% here.
Yeah.
Alright, so again, if you want to, you can get rid of that last line, because that last line means nothing in this level, because you haven't broken the debt yet. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so now what happens if I need more than this? More than 1 million. What happens?
Then you need to obviously have the other debt.
Yes, okay, so how much more do I need?
Well, it doesn't say how much more you need. It says above 1 million.
Table. How much am I going to need?
I'm not sure. Internal rate of return.
The cumulative investment. 1.4 mil.
Okay, so 1.4 would be...
Okay, so remember, let me revise some theory. Remember, we've got a table that looks like this. IRR and WACC. And then we've got the financing here.
Okay.
Okay, if I accept project A, how much does A give me as a return?
If you 15%.
Yes, so that's up here. And then B gives me 14.5, C, D, E, F, G. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of cost of capital, what's my cost of capital? Well, from 0 to 600,000, what's the cost?
From 0 to 600,000, your cost is... that's your weighted average cost, eh?
Yes. 11.31.
Okay, so Yeah.
You see that? And then from 600,000 to a mil, 11.31 as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means cumulatively I'm going to accept those projects. Okay, so A will be accepted, B will be accepted, C will be accepted, D will be accepted. Okay, because the cost, the cost there was 11.31.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then what happens if I need more than $1 million? How much more do I need?
Your project, you're not going to...
I need 1.5
Well, you need another 400,000.
Do you agree?
For 1.4, isn't it?
Yeah, I need 1.4. If I want 1.4, am I going to have to pay more costs?
Yeah.
Yes, I will have to, because the bank is not going to want 10.31%. How much more do they want? Well, look at the financing. If I want more than 400,000 debt, I now need to pay 14%.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is that going to do to the cost? It's going to increase the cost.
It's going to increase the cost.
Okay, so debt share is still 40%, pref shares is still 10%, ordinary is still 50%. Right, 1.4 million is what I need to accept all the projects. Okay, so what's the how much bonds am I going to need? 400,000. Why 400,000? Because I'm limited to the 400,000. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't accept more than 400,000. Ordinary shares 50%. If I want more debt, I need to pay 14%.
Yeah.
Right. So on 1.4 million, how much is 40%?
So it's an extra 400,000, so it would be 160,000.
Yes, 560,000.
Well, I mean, it's an extra the other, so you've got your 400,000. Yeah, you've got your 400,000 plus an additional, plus your additional
616.
Plus your additional, plus your additional.
So that's why I've got this now. Because if I want to raise 1.4 mil, I need bonds of 400k, and I need an additional 160 coming from the other source of capital.
Okay. So, I mean, could you not, Anthony, I mean, because of the way that they've done this, could you not, I mean, they give you a rough paper to work out at the back of it, to work out some of the stuff. Couldn't you go and, for instance, take, work that stuff out and work out what the actual combined cost of debt is?
Yeah, of course. You could just add those two together, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. If you want to work it out separately and then add it to the table, that's also great, yeah.
Okay, cool. 100%.
Right. As long as it comes out to 8.9%.
Yeah, 100%.
For the total cost of debt.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would work it out exactly like this, because now I see exactly how you're doing it. Now, I just got so lost with the 400,000 and saying, well, I mean, we're already above 400,000, but now I understand with the percentages and stuff like that and what you've done. So now I understand where your thinking was. I think that's just what got me.
Okay.
That's just what we got. And then for the next one, because obviously I didn't work out all of this. But I mean, obviously we'd accept all projects up to R1 million. We wouldn't accept any projects above that, because the cost of capital becomes too high compared to what our returns are.
Well, yes. So over $1 million, the cost of the WACC is 17.4% now. Okay, so have a look at
whereas
this.
we're only making 10%.
There's the table.
So we also, so your internal would be rejected. Yeah. So I mean, I get that. So I've got that portion. It just, I couldn't do that because I didn't really understand what was going on in the way you actually did the table. Because when I looked at yours, I was doing mine like this. And then I went and I looked and I checked, and obviously my answers, especially at the bottom, were quite a bit different. Okay, and I also did get a bit
Yeah, well, the table that I would have completed in the exam would have been the same for 1, the same for 2. The only difference here would be here at the bottom. Okay, and if you look at the answer, they've actually given you enough space to add it. Because I could put 400,000 there, and I could put 1.6 here. Do you see that? Okay, so there actually is enough space in the table to put my answers there. Even with my answer being a slightly different to theirs, I mean, there's enough space here to add my workings here. Do you see there's extra lines? Yeah, so you can actually use the right working. You can literally take what I've drawn up here, this bit, in terms of debt, pref shares, and other, and as well as ordinary, and I can literally put those amounts in as is, and I have enough space to do that here. So yes, you can work this out on a separate page, or you can just add that in here. I mean, I wouldn't have worked it out separately because there is enough space here. I would have just split this maybe and just shown 0 for the other form of finance, but I don't think it's really necessary because for both of them, the debt was just 40% and you didn't require the other source of debts.
100%. Yeah, I've got that, and then I've got the next thing.